So I don't really talk about this a lot. Some of you who follow my blog and my YouTube channel may know this, but obviously, a big thing behind my passion, and or as some have called it, my obsession with the whole police accountability thing and watching the watchers, what I call it, is that in the 1980s, my dad, who, uh, as a result of several incidents that he went through with the Rochester Police Department, became one of the pioneers in cop watching. In fact, in a recent article in the Fader magazine um, called "The Cop Watchers," they wrote about my dad, Mario Vara. And when I mean a pioneer, I mean one of the first. One of the first who, long before everybody had a camera on their cell phone. I mean, right now everyone pretty much has a camera. It's right on your phone. I'm talking about in the starting in the mid to late 80s, even before Rodney King. Those of you familiar, uh, the younger audience may not be too familiar with Rodney King, which obviously brought the issue of police brutality right to everyone's living room. But even before that, my dad was out there um, with the old school VHS camera. I always joke, the camera that weighed about 20, 30 pounds, and you used to have to lug around and put it on your shoulder. So my dad was one of the pioneers when it came to recording the police, cop watching, as it's called. I always say he was doing it before it became cool to record the police. You know what I mean? Before everybody was doing it. But my dad went through a lot with the Rochester Police Department, specifically in 1986 when Rochester, New York police officer Rambo Benjamin, they call him Rambo on the street, and Mark Mariano, who has since retired from the RPD. Actually, Randall Benjamin, Rambo, as he's known on the streets, still works for the RPD. And they broke in our home without a warrant. They violated our rights. They threatened me and my family at gunpoint. They threatened to shoot my dog. They tore up the house looking for a gun that they never found. And the whole story will be on the film that I've been working on, and which is mostly about my dad. But they basically, trashed our rooms. They overturned mattresses. They overturned dresser drawers. They broke my trophies, my baseball and football trophies, and that incident right there just completely changed, our lives, especially for my parents. My dad, having come to this country in 1968 as a Cuban immigrant, having left his family behind, and my mom having left her family behind, including her mom, my grandmother, who I never met, in search of a better life, in search of, freedom, and just a better opportunity for him and his family. I was born here, so I wasn't born in Cuba. I was born actually right here in the United States, actually right here in Rochester. So, don't want to get too long-winded here. Just had one of those moments where I really miss my dad, and I don't know if, again, those of you who are familiar with my story know that that as a result of that one incident, my dad became very outspoken, and active in the community, very outspoken and active against police misconduct. And then as a result, back then it was worse than now. We're talking, again, the 80s. Um, the police, especially the Rochester, New York Police Department, the whole blue line and code of silence and blue wall was on a whole nother level. I mean, these are the days where they would where they literally would beat you down with the billy club, um, without any thought. The corruption was worse than it is now. We can debate how bad it is now versus then, and people often ask me uh, if I think it's worse now, or if I think it's just that social media, the power of social media, the like I said earlier, the power that everybody has a camera on their phone. People ask me, is it worse now, or is it just that it's more out there and readily available, and everybody is ready to hit record, which I love. Exercising your First Amendment right to record, a right which obviously is protected under the First Amendment. Actually, the courts have ruled it as an extension, basically, of free speech. But I think it's obviously more seen now because everybody does have a camera. But I also think that back then it was worse. The accountability is not on the level that I would like to see it now. There's still cover-ups and the blue line and the code of silence and the blue wall that's very hard to penetrate. It's a brotherhood. It's a gang. It is a gang. Don't get it twisted. It is a gang, the biggest gang, a legal gang.